Love, be encouraged, love will see you through. Love, be the first to love and fill your heart with. Be about it. Sing a song about. Never doubt that. Inspirational love is our shelter. Now and always love. Before and after love. Love gives you courage, heals your heart. It's the best thing. You can't go wrong with it, 'cause it's eternal and it has no end. So stand on up for love. Full dimensional love is our shelter. Now and always love. Before and after love. Love gives you courage, heals your heart. It's the best thing. You can't go wrong with it, 'cause it's eternal and it has no end. So stand on up for love. Unconditional love is our shelter. Love now and always love. Before and after love. There are too many of you crying. Brother, there are far too many of you dying. You know we've got to find a way to bring some love in here today. Yeah. Oh, Obama, we don't need to escalate. You see that war is not the answer, for only love can conquer hate. You know we've got to find a way to bring some love in here today. Brother, too many dying. Sister, mother, fathers, far too many of you crying. You know love is our courage, love now and always love. Before and after love. Then get your groove on. Gives you courage, mends your heart. It's the best thing. You can't go wrong with, because it's eternal and it has no end. So stand on up for love. Unconditional love is our shelter. Now and always love. Before and after love. Love, Father, everybody might think we're wrong. Oh yeah. Oh, but who would they to judge us?
Purpose statement. Our purpose is to create a spiritual community that recognizes that there is one presence and one power in the universe, God. Daily, we actively practice this spiritual truth. We open our heart space to each person to acknowledge one another as expressions of God. It is in each other that we see God.
May our hearts be open. 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 May our hearts be open.
Good morning. God, we welcome you among us today as we celebrate this gift of love you've given us. We gather in your presence today with open hearts and minds. Bless this time of worship with your grace and your spirit. Open our hearts and minds as we receive today's message. We appreciate this opportunity
Welcome magic and wonder, brilliance and grace. Welcome joy, satisfaction, pleasure and strength. Welcome essence, beauty, presence, time, spirit, form and space. Welcome excellence in every blessing, sacred and praise.
What I see, I am. What I wanna know, I understand. All I wish I could, I can. Who I wanna be, I am. What I see, I am. What I wanna know, I understand. All I wish I could, I can. Who I wanna be, I am.
Welcome magic and wonder, brilliance and grace. Welcome joy, satisfaction, pleasure
Abundance in every blessing, sacred and great.
What I see, I am. What I wanna know, I understand. All I wish I could, I can. What I wanna be, I am. What I see, I am. What I wanna know, I understand. All I wish I could, I can. Who I wanna be, I am.
I am the seed, I am the tree, I am the flower, I am the bee. I am fire, I am wind. I accept love and also I give. I am loud and I am mighty. I am silent, I tread lightly. I am brave and monumental. I am modest and I am gentle. I am student and I teach. I am the sand and I am the beach. I am peace and I am power. I am bridge and I am tower. I am peace and I am wild. I am mother, I am child. I am baby, I am few. I am God and God is you.
What I see, I am. What I wanna know, I understand. All I wish I could, I can. Who I wanna be, I am. What I see, I am. What I wanna know, I understand. All I wish I could, I can. Who I wanna be, I am.
To be.
What comes from the heart reaches the heart. Good morning and welcome to our Heartstream for this Sunday, July the 16th, 2023. I'm so glad that you have joined us for this morning's Heartstream. It is always a pleasure to greet you in this virtual way, and we know that our message continues to get out there. Thank you for your support in helping to make this possible. This month, as I've said, we have a number of things happening. In particular, coming up on the 5th Sunday, July the 30th, we will have our guest speaker on that Sunday morning during our Heartstream, Angela Sargent. And then at 2 p.m. at the Haven at 662 Minor Road over near the University of Memphis campus, we will have our second 5th Sunday fellowship. It's an opportunity for us to get together in person. We have some activities and other things in mind for you and in store for you, and you'll be able to see many of your Open Heart family members as a part of that gathering. So I hope you will join us on that day. I again thank you for all of the support that you provide, ways with your prayers, with your text messages, with your email messages, with your commenting on during our Heartstream and the other ways that you continue to know, and also spreading the word to other people. One of the things that I've been noticing is the fact that our videos are viewed after they have been streamed live, and people who for whatever other reasons, who don't have an opportunity to be present then will come back and watch them, and that is very heartening to see that. Just continue to tell your friends and your family member and loved ones about what is happening with this message that is coming from Open Heart, the work that is put into making it possible. And as always, I greet you, I bless you, I see God in you.
Our theme for the month of July, with a clear target in mind. With a clear target in mind, I align with Spirit to achieve what I want. Together, we focus, direct, refocus, and redirect to live a healthy, whole, and abundant life. And so it is. Today is a day like no other day. Just think and you'll know that it's true. Days like today should be holidays. So I'm singing this message to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Just have a happy day.
Am I strong enough to bear the burdens that sometimes comes living this thing called life? Am I wise enough to make the right decisions when I'm standing at the fork of the road? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because
I am the place where God is, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God is, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up.
will I have enough to do the things I need to do to take care of myself? Will I have the help of mind and body to live the life of grace and wholeness? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because
I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up.
I am the
I am
place.
the place where God
You
lives,
are the
moves and
place.
breathes and has
We
its
are the
being.
place
I am the place
where God shows up. I am the
I
place.
am the place where God
You
lives,
are the
moves and
place.
breathes and has
We
its
are the
being.
place
I am the place
where God shows up.
I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I tell you, it I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. All right. Woo! I got the T-shirt. It says I'm the place. I bought it from his website. It says I'm the place where God.
Good morning. Today's affirmative reading is from 30-Day Journey to Transformation by Villa Willis, and it's on faith. Faith is like electricity. You can't see it, but you can see the light. Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. Hebrews 11, verse 1. One of the best experiences I had as a youth pastor was the time we discussed faith. I told the kids I knew they were people of faith. They were like, "No, we are not, Rev Villa." My response was, "Sure you are, and I'm going to show you all." "All of you," I said, "have taken it on faith that your parents are who they say they are. Have you ever seen their driver's license, birth certificate, social security card? Do you have any evidence that the people who say they are your relatives really are?" Well, you could have heard a pin drop. We operate on faith every time we sit down in a chair and open the door. We have faith the chair was constructed to hold a human and that the world we left behind when we close the door is the same one that will be there when we open the door. Faith on the spiritual plane is the same. We have faith in things that the human eye cannot see, but our soul knows. Based on this soul connection, we can then act in a way that demonstrates our faith in a loving, gracious, abundant, awesome God.
Tell me, what's going on at Open Heart? Well, let's watch and see. On Sunday, July the 30th at 10 a.m. during our Heartstream, our special guest speaker will be Angela Sargent. We look forward to having Angela with us again. Our next Fifth Sunday Fellowship takes place on Sunday, July 30th from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. at The Haven, 662 Minor Road, and we look forward to you being there. We had a wonderful time the last time, and we know that this time will be no different. We look to see you there. There are 3 ways to give. Give through Cash App, OHSC 901, online at ohsc901.com, or text to give 615-422-4292. At Open Heart, we believe in the power of affirmative prayer. And as you see these names here, these are individuals and families that we remember and hold the space for. We know that all is done in consciousness for each and every one of them. We continue to lift them in all that we do. Start your day or continue your day with our daily affirmative prayer call that takes place every morning at 8 a.m. time. 901-586-8755, where one of our prayer team members will lead you in prayer.
You can do this. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it.
Don't try to figure it out, just do it.
That was right on time.
Don't try to figure it out, just do it.
All right, here we go.
each other. Like I said, just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Oh, just do it. Just do it. Don't try to figure it out. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Oh, just do it. Just do it. No matter what color you are, just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Oh, just do it. Just do it. We've got to learn to love, yeah. Just do it. 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 Light up the world. Shine me. Love is the answer. Shining us all. Set us free. Love is the answer. Love is the answer. Oh, love is the answer. Yes. Love is the answer. Love is the answer. Oh, yeah. Love is the answer.
Let me tell you, let me just be honest right here. The fact of the matter is this message has been one that has been difficult for me to come by. I have worked on it and meditated on it and done the things that I normally do to come up with a message for the week. And this particular one, I don't know what it was. It presented some real challenges for me. And so I finally came to something that I'm going to just go ahead and do it. And you might be wondering about the title, Tain't Worth It. And if you are a person who, like me, growing up, watched the Tex Avery cartoons, they were very hilarious. And in Deputy Droopy, who was one of the cartoon characters, there was another character in there who always played the role of a criminal. And Deputy Droopy would get him and end up putting him in jail. And oftentimes he would end up putting himself in jail. And one of the things that he would say was, "Tain't worth it. Tain't worth it." And as I was contemplating and meditating on what I was going to say today, and what this message would contain, that phrase kept coming up to me. And I kept seeing the character, as a matter of fact, saying those words, "Tain't worth it." And it goes back to, if you think about last week, when I talked about the fact that what I think of me is my business, in moving on with Maxwell Moss's idea that it's our self-worth, the way that we see ourselves, that is very vitally important for us to be able to do anything when it comes to doing the work, the spiritual work, the other work that is there for us to do to bring about lives that are healthy, lives that are whole, lives that are indeed successful, and everything else, that our self-worth plays a huge role in us being able to even get to that point, to be able to get there. And so I wanted to talk about that today again and expand on the idea of self-worth, because it's so vitally important that we understand these things and how our self-worth plays into whatever else it is that we do. So many times people, as I work with people, they are stymied by their own image of self-worth. And the thing of it is, I don't blame individuals, because a lot of that, I know that in growing up, for example, and religion has played a huge role and a huge part of that. I think about a number of years ago, a place where I used to work, there were several of us who decided one day to get together after work and go watch the movie The Fighting Temptations. And we watched the movie, we enjoyed it. If you're not familiar with the movie, it was a movie that starred Cuba Gooding Jr. and also Beyonce, and it was about a choir in a small town that in the beginning they were a ragtag group, and Cuba Gooding Jr. came back to that town. He started working with the choir. Beyonce ultimately ended up in the choir, and many other things that happened there. But there, when we left out of there, there was a song that they had been singing. And as we were walking to our cars, one of my coworkers started singing one of the lines from that song that said, "I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough." And she kept singing those two phrases over and over and over again. "I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough." And finally, I couldn't take it anymore, and I stopped her and I said, "Will you please stop singing that? That's not your truth. That's not who you are." And she said, "Oh yes, I am. Oh yes, it is. I'm not worthy and I'm not good enough." And she went on to cite some of the religious principles that we oftentimes hear about us not being worthy, and about us being filthy rags in the sight of God, and all of that. And unfortunately, I saw for so long that unfold in her life, that she lived a life, she being a very talented individual, but never really reaching her potential at that time because of her feelings of not being worthy, of getting in those things, getting in the way. And just how, again, important it is for us to recognize and realize that our ideas of self-worth are important. And it's interesting to me that people will like to pick out those particular things in terms of providing a religious justification for why we're not worthy. And I go back to something like Psalm 139 that talks about us being fearfully and wonderfully made, and that whole idea there that the psalmist is expressing about how we were formed in our mother's womb, fearfully and wonderfully made, and the idea about us being created in the image and likeness of God, and when God created humankind, declaring it being good and very good, and that, as I often say, was never revoked. But the idea, again, that is so important, that our notions of self-worth are vital to the work that I'm talking about this month, and I'm going to go beyond this month in a lot of ways, but the work of having a clear target in mind, having a clear target in mind. Iyanla Van Zant suggests, when we start talking about our self-image, that there are four questions that we ask ourselves. And the first is, what do I believe about myself? What is it that I believe about myself? And then the second question to ask ourselves is, how do I display that in my behavior and the things that I do? And the third question to ask ourselves, what do I remember being told about myself? And then the fourth, again, going back to, how does my behavior justify or exhibit that which I have been told about myself? And then the affirmation that I forgive myself for believing the things that I have been told about me, and living from that premise. It's important because not only do we have the things that we have self-internalized, but those come from oftentimes the things that other people have told us about ourselves, telling us that we're no good, telling us that we're not worth anything, we won't amount to much, all of that, all of that negative stuff that gets in the way and that keeps us from living the lives that we are talking about living, and experiencing the things that I'm talking about living today. So that's very important. And I want you to be clear on this, and I'm going to be clear. Is that I'm not telling you something that I just read in the book Cybernetics and Psycho Cybernetics, and think that is something good, but I am telling you about some things that are working in my life and that have worked in my life, and I am sharing them with my Open Heart Spiritual Center community, family, and beyond, because of the fact that in this process, there are some things to be said for beginning with a definite target or a definite purpose in mind. If you remember the book, the the 7 habits of highly successful people, one of the things that the author did with that, is Stephen Covey, is that he took a lot of different self-help and new thought texts, and he compiled them and distilled them into 7 habits. And the first habit that he began with is to always start with the end in mind, to always start with the end in mind. Again, it goes back to the principle about having a clear target. If you look at Mitch Horowitz's book, he has a book that is entitled A Chief Definite Aim. And he again also looked at other New Thought texts and New Thought authors and came to the conclusion that the most important principle is having a target, a clear target in mind. If you ever walk onto a ship and you go to the bridge of the ship and you ask the captain where the ship is headed, they're not going to be unsure or uncertain. They're going to have their destination in mind. They're going to know where it is that they are headed to. The same thing if you walk onto an airplane. As a matter of fact, I'm sure if you walked on an airplane and asked the pilots where we headed, you would be mighty, mighty worried if they told you why. I don't know. But oftentimes in our lives, we can have that kind of attitude, approach those things with regard to our lives. And I think there's something else that's vitally important also to remember, and that is this, that this idea about having a clear target in mind is not just reserved to the big goals and the big targets in our lives, but I am finding that beginning every day with a clear target in mind helps to bring things together and to have things unfold for us in our lives. Those things become important, that as we get a hold of that and as we continue to work in pursuit of things for each and every day, that things happen. The universe begins lining things up for us, and people show up, opportunities show up, situations show up, insight shows up, creativity shows up. So many things show up once we have that clear target in mind. Oftentimes, I know for myself, I've gotten up and in the morning and then just kind of had the attitude with whatever the day brings me. That's what I'm going to look at. That's what I'm going to go for. But ultimately, when I take the opportunity, though, to set for that day a clear target of things that I wish to accomplish, and then, as I've talked about in the past, the idea of pre-paving, then in my mind, seeing those things unfold, seeing the conversations that I wish to have with certain people, seeing me complete certain tasks, seeing things happen even before that process, that as I do that, things start to happen in the day as I envision them. Things unfold in the way as I see them. And again, I'll be talking about using the imagination to help bring this about. But it's a very important consideration and a very important factor in what it means to live a life with a clear target in mind. Again, I'm not telling you what I read. I'm telling you what I read and then started living and what is happening for me. And I hope that there are those of you that will take the time, that will decide that you are worth it to do these same things and apply these same principles in your life. It will make a difference. It will provide an opportunity for things to unfold in your health, in your relationships, in your financial situation, in your just everyday attitude and getting along in life. All of that. These are not just namby-pamby, airy-fairy, pie in the sky kinds of ideas or anything else, but these are things that people have been following for generations. And if we think about it and we look at the spiritual text and see people living their lives in this manner and living lives in this way, we begin to understand that. Going back to the life of the master teacher Jesus, and there were often times where they would try to distract him with this or that, and he talked about being about my Father's business. He had a clear target in mind of what it was that he was doing in terms of sharing the message about a God who was loving, a God who was giving, a God who loved all. And in the parables oftentimes that he told, in just demonstrating that. And you know, one of the most important ones for me was the parable of the loving father. We think about it as the parable of the prodigal son. But there, the clear idea there was a being, if you will, or a presence, a divine love intelligence of the universe that never gives up on us, that is always, always, always has our best interest in mind and continues to know that for us in each and everything it is that we do. And when we understand this, and when we operate from this awareness and this understanding, things again do happen and things again do unfold. And I'm here to tell you, if nobody else will, that if in your life, even in this point in your life, if you are walking around with the feeling that it ain't worth it, I don't have all of the things that other people have, there's something wrong, I've internalized those things that people have told about me, and I carry those things on myself and continue to operate from those things. I'm here to tell you that, as I remember Cecil Murray talking about this in with his congregation, that you are precious, and indeed you are precious. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and the word fearfully is not being scared, but awesomely would be another thing. You are awesome, and understanding that and getting a hold of that and allowing that to internalize within you and knowing just how special and how wonderful you are. It's been one of my continued goals, and one that I will not stop and not give up on. And I hope that you will continue to know this for yourself. That's why I often say that you are, as I would see in my classroom when I was growing up, in I think it was the 5th grade, there was a poster in the classroom that said, God made me and God didn't make no junk. And that is the truth. God made you, God made me, and God didn't make any junk. We are worth it. Know this for yourself. Live from this yourself. Understand this, embody this, and make this a part of who it is that you are. And when you do, things then clear the channel for spirit to work in your life and to do the things that you need to do. Peace and abundant blessings. Ashe. And so it is.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient, and I didn't know that the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you got to let it go. Let it all go.
Let it go.
And this is what you have to say.
I release and I let go. I let the spirit from my life, and my heart is open wide, 'cause I'm only here for God. No more struggles, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the spirit. Yes,
No more tears to wipe away, no more fear to bind me. I've been led to find my way. Here I stand in faith and courage to feel what's within me. No more silence, I am free. Surrender to the mystery. You can't control, so let it go. Allow it to simply be here and now, and everything is one with each other. Love is the answer. Know that you're perfect, exactly the way you are. The words you choose to speak, your thoughts, they manifest your life. Will you keep guiding me to be my most highest self? Everything I need is all within me right here, right now. Here I am. My heart is wide open. Receive the love so pure and true. I shine the light bright for you and you and you and you. Surrender to the mystery. You can't control, so let it go.